Hello everyone, my name is Tiffany and today I'll be showing you how to draw cartoon faces. What you'll be needing is just a regular piece of paper. You'll need a sharp pencil. You'll need a pencil sharpener. You'll need an eraser. You'll need a black marker with a fine tip like a Sharpie or whatever you have at home. If you don't have any markers, you could use a pen instead. Any type of pen will work as long as it has black ink. The first thing we're going to do is, with your pencil, you are going to very lightly draw a circle on your paper. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle, just get it as close to perfect as you can. Then you will draw a line down the middle of the circle, splitting the circle in half. The next thing you will do is draw another line going across the middle of the circle. So now you will have 4 equal sections. Now you're going to draw another line through the middle of the bottom half of the circle. Now in the very bottom section, you're going to split that in half by drawing another line in the middle as well. And what these lines do is tell you where we're going to put the eyes, the nose, and the mouth on the face that we're drawing. So let's go ahead and start with the eyes, and I'm going to show you one easy way to draw an eye. For the outline of the eye, we're going to draw an almond shape that has 2 pointy ends instead of 1 round end. Then you're going to draw a circle in the middle. That will be the iris. And inside that circle, you're going to make a smaller circle. That will be the pupil. Now we're going to take what we learned and we're going to draw the eyes on the face. I'm going to start out with the right side, but you can pick whatever side you prefer. Just make sure that the eye is on the eye guideline that we drew. That is the first line that we drew going across the face. And now we have to measure the length of the eye. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tip of my pencil and I will use that to measure how long the first eye is. Then I will measure 1 eye distance apart. And that is where we will start our second eye. And that is because on the human face, eyes are usually 1 eye length apart from each other. But you will see later that that's not always the case. Now I'm going to finish drawing the pupils on both the eyes, and then we're going to start with the eyebrows. Eyebrows come in all different shapes and sizes, but right now we're just going to draw eyebrows that are about the same length as our eyes below. And eyebrows are usually thicker towards the inner corners of the eye, and then they thin out as they reach the outer corners. Now we're going to move on to the nose, and you can think of the shape of the nose as kind of like a curvy line with 3 bumps. The bumps on the side are usually a little smaller than the one in the middle. The one in the middle is a little bit wider. As for how wide to make the nose, a good rule of thumb is that the sides of the nose will usually line up with the inner corners of the eyes. For the mouth, I'm just going to draw a small line that's curving up so it looks like my character is smiling. Then I'm going to draw little lines for the corners of the mouth and then a tiny line right below the first line. Okay, so now we have a circle with a face on it, so now let's draw the rest of the head. Starting at the eye line, draw a line going down to the mouth line, and do that on each side of the face. Starting at the mouth guideline, you're going to draw a curving line going towards the middle vertical line. You're going to do that on each side of the face, have them meet in the middle. And where they meet, you're going to round it out, and that's how you make your chin. Now we're going to draw the ears, and they're going to be between the eye line and the nose line. The shape of the ear is kind of like a letter C. You can play with the size or the shape if you'd like to, but you can just think of it as like drawing the letter C on each side of the face, but you just have to reverse it. Now we're going to draw the neck, but first I'm going to show you what not to do. Don't just draw two lines going straight down underneath the chin that kind of looks like a tree trunk. Instead, what you're going to do is draw curvy lines on each side. So a line going slightly in and then curving out to indicate the shoulders of your character. All right, now that we have the basic shape and the face down, we're just going to erase all the extra pencil marks. So I'm going to erase the words that I wrote on the side, and then we're going to also erase the guidelines inside the face. Just take your time and be careful with this. Don't accidentally erase an eye, a nose, or a mouth or something you don't want to be erased. If it's easier for you, you can use the eraser at the end of your pencil instead. Now I'm going to refine the drawing a little bit, so I'm just going to redraw a few lines that I don't like. You can feel free to do this until you get a drawing that you're satisfied with. And when you're done, the final step is adding the hair. This part is completely up to you and your imagination. You can leave your character bald if you'd like, but I think for me, I'm going to add a wavy hairstyle that goes down to my character's shoulders. And I think I'll also add some bangs with a little side part. Then I'm going to take my eraser and I'm just going to erase the top part of the circle that we first drew, or the top part of the head of this character in this case. And once again, I'm going to just fix a few details of this drawing. So I'm going to erase some stuff and redraw some stuff. Feel free to take your time doing this. Now it's time to ink our drawing. You can use either the fine tip marker or you can use a pen, whichever one you prefer or whichever one you have at home. In my case, I'm going to use a marker for this one. What I'm doing is I'm just going over the pencil lines with the marker. Now I did speed up the video a little bit, so it looks like I'm going faster than I actually am. You want to be very careful and take your time with this part because it is a lot harder to erase marker or pen than it is with pencil. If you feel like this video is going too fast, feel free to pause it and then continue whenever you're ready. The reason why you want a marker with a fine tip is to work on the small details like the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. If it's easier for you, you can switch to the pen for the smaller parts if you have one. Okay, I'm going to finish up inking the hair, and then I'm actually going to fill in the eyes with my marker because I changed my mind and decided that this character would look better with dark eyes. Now that you're done inking, the final step is just to take your eraser and erase all the pencil lines. Feel free to go over it a few times if you need to. Now that we've learned the basics of drawing a face, let's take what we've learned and play with it. So for this drawing, we're going to start out like we did before. Draw a circle, doesn't have to be perfect. Draw a line down the middle. And now for the line that's going across, we're going to bring it a little bit lower than the center of the circle. And then draw your two other lines below that one. So again, these will be the guidelines for the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. And now for the eyes, I'm going to draw it a little bit differently. I'm going to make really big eyes with huge eyelashes. And instead of drawing just one circle in the middle, I'm going to draw another circle inside the first circle. And for the other eye, I'm not even going to measure it because I want the eyes to be close together. So I'm going to draw this other eye and I'll try to draw it as close as possible to the first eye I drew, but it's not going to be perfect. Again, don't worry about being perfect the first time you draw something. Just erase and redraw until you're satisfied with it. And now I'm going to move on to the nose. I'll make a little tiny nose. It's the same shape as the first one, just smaller. For the eyebrows, I want long, thin eyebrows that are arching high up above the eyes. I'm also going to draw a smaller mouth, but this time I'm going to give this person lips. I'm just going to draw little half circles on the top and bottom. Now I'm going to draw the ears, but I don't want normal ears. I actually want elf ears, so I'm going to make them pointed, just like this. And I'm just going to erase the normal looking ears in there. And now I'll bring the lines down for the chin. And I want to give this person kind of a smaller chin than I did the first person. And I'm just going to refine this a little bit, redraw, erase. And now I'm going to erase the guidelines inside the face, being careful not to erase the nose or the mouth or anything. And I think I want to give this person kind of pointed bangs, but I want a short hairstyle. I'm kind of thinking of like a fairy character, kind of like Tinkerbell. And I'm going to erase the lines that I drew for the top of the head. And just add a little bit more detail. And I'm going to give this person a smaller neck as well. Next, it's time to ink, and this time I'm going to be using the pen. Same thing as with the marker, you're just going to be going over your pencil lines. Just take it slowly, be careful, especially when it comes to small details like the eyes, nose, and the mouth. And since this person has thick eyelashes, I kind of want them to be dark eyelashes, I'm going to have to fill in the eyelashes with my pen. So I'm just going to color it black with my pen. Now, if you're also drawing this character with me, you don't have to fill it in the eyelashes with black ink if you don't want to. Maybe you want your character to be blonde, you can color it later with yellow if you want to, or red, or green, whatever color you'd like. You don't have to match what I'm doing exactly. And I'm going to try to match what I did with the first eye on the second eye. It's probably not perfectly the same, but that's okay. As long as I can get it pretty close, I'll be happy with it. And now I'm going to just fill in the eyebrows and the other little details like the nose and the mouth as well. So as you can probably tell just from comparing the two drawings, just by playing around with the proportions a little bit, changing the eye shape, bringing the eyes closer together, making a smaller nose and mouth, we have two completely different looking characters. And that's part of the fun of drawing cartoon characters. You can just play around with the proportions a bit. So bringing the guidelines for the nose, the mouth, the eyes up or down on the circle, drawing different shapes for each of the features, and seeing what you can come up with. Okay, now that I'm done inking, I'm going to take my eraser and I'm just going to completely erase all the pencil marks on my drawing. You may want to wait a few seconds for the ink to completely dry, because if not, you may accidentally smudge the drawing. And there you have it. Just by making a few changes, we have a character that is completely different from the first one. And now that you kind of get the basic idea of what we're doing, I'm going to show you other characters you can draw by just playing around with the proportions a little bit. Now for this guy, I started off with a circle as usual, but I put the eye line much higher this time. I'm going to give him 2 circles for eyes, with little pupils, but I'm going to give him a huge nose. And for his mouth, I just want to do like a little O shape. I'm also going to give this guy really tiny ears. I'm going to draw that C shape but really small this time. Line right with the eyes. I'm just going to do a simple curvy line for his chin, and then I'm going to bring his neck all the way down and have a little bow tie for him to wear. His hair is just going to be a few lines on the top of his head, and now I'm just going to ink him with marker. If you ever watched The Three Stooges, you might guess who I'm basing this off of. Now I'm going to ink his bow tie, but I think I want to draw him wearing kind of like a suit, so I'm going to add a little collar there. But this is just a simple, quick drawing as an example of what else you can do by playing around with the proportions and the shape of the features on the face. For my next drawing, I'm going to start off with more of an oval shape than a circle because I'm kind of picturing this character with more of a longer face than the other ones. You probably notice I didn't draw the vertical line down the middle of the face. As you practice more with your drawing and cartooning, you don't always need to establish all these guidelines. So even sometimes I don't need the guidelines for the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. You can just kind of eyeball it if you do this a lot eventually. But if you're not at that point yet, feel free to keep using the guidelines. This character is starting to look like some kind of bodyguard or maybe somebody in the military, so I've decided to give him kind of a wide jaw and this buzz cut hairdo. And I'm thinking this character probably works out a lot too, so I'm going to make their neck really thick, thicker than their head, so that kind of indicates that they're really muscular. And now I'm going to ink this character. I'm going to use the pen again. And a really good way to learn how to draw faces, even just cartoon faces, is to actually practice by drawing real-life people around you. When you start to observe the people around you and draw them, you'll notice that people's faces and heads come in all sorts of shapes and sizes, and almost everyone has some kind of unique trait. Like maybe they have a round nose or eyes that come really close together. Maybe they have a unibrow, a square jaw, big ears, tiny ears, something like that. And so the more you practice drawing real people, the more you'll commit those different unique features to memory. So when you go to draw your cartoon character, you'll be able to draw all sorts of interesting faces. And in fact, some cartoon artists will base their cartoon characters on a person they may know or they may have seen before. They may have just simplified some of the details of the face or exaggerated some of those person's features, like maybe they gave them really narrow eyes, or maybe a big bushy mustache like I'm about to draw on this guy. But of course, that's not always the case. Cartoons can be completely from your imagination. Even so, it's still a good idea to draw from real life because, believe it or not, it'll actually help your imagination. You can also look at other cartoons and see how other artists draw their characters. And it's okay to maybe imitate the style of that cartoonist, but you actually really want to find your own style, which you will eventually develop just by drawing from real life. It's not going to happen immediately. You have to keep practicing drawing. But just keep at it, be patient, and just keep working, and eventually you will develop your own style. Now this will be the last character that I'll draw. I'm just going to finish inking him here. Just need to finish inking his bow tie, his little collar, and finally his monocle. And now I'm just going to erase all the pencil lines. And there you have it, 3 more examples of the types of characters you can create. So I hope you take what you learned today and start creating your own characters. Thank you for watching. Bye.